So the amazing humans behind the It Slays podcast, and I'll link to them in the details below, have reached out to me to make something special for their 3-year anniversary giveaway. This year also happens to be the 40th anniversary of one of my all-time favorite movies, The Thing, the John Carpenter version of The Thing from 1982. I can't believe it's been 40 years since this movie was released. It was a favorite of mine for as long as I can remember, really. When I was a kid, it was a staple of our horror movie weekend marathons, which were happening most weekends. So yeah, now that I feel really old, let's get back to it. I'm going to crochet something inspired by the movie, and one of my favorite scenes from the movie is the dog transformation scene. The one in the kennel. You know the one. It's the first scene in the movie where stuff really gets gross. The way the skin peels back from the dog's head, it's almost beautiful. The effects are completely amazing, but it's almost flower-like. Grossest flower ever, but still not unlike a flower. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. So I've decided to crochet a dog's head plant, inspired by, of course, that scene from the movie The Thing. The finished piece will be included in the prize pack for the It Slays podcast 3-year giveaway. So check that out below and enter for your chance to win. This is not the first time I've made something for the great people at the It Slays podcast. Last year I made a clamshell, which is inspired by the movie It Follows. It had a little light, a little hinge, help it open and close. But this year I wanted to make something grosser and weirder, so that's why I went with the dog's head plant. And just to give you an idea of what I'm going for, and please forgive my rough sketches or giggle at them, that's fine too. So this is the first sketch that I made of the dog's head. I was trying to describe what I wanted to make to my partner, and when that wasn't working, I tried to sketch it. Unsurprisingly, that wasn't very helpful either. But that's supposed to be the tongue in the center, and the 4 sections are the dog's head splitting. Makes sense to me. What doesn't make sense to me is that sketch to the right of this one. I mean, it's Leatherface. He's holding a chainsaw, sure, but why he has a squid, I think it's a squid, on his head, that I don't know. Might shed some light on this to know that I live in Canada, where cannabis is legal. Just gonna leave that there. Next up is my second sketch. I'm trying to figure out if a dog's head were split 4 ways, what would go where? Like which skin flap would have a bit of nose or eyes, or what pieces would be on it. And then we have some more horrible sketches. The sketch doesn't have to look good, just as long as I can sort out the shapes and things from it. Although I wouldn't hate for them to look good, it's not the main goal, I guess. So that's my excuse. All right, let's get started with the weirdness. So I've already started on crocheting the individual pieces that will make up the dog's head plant. So now we're at the funnest part, which is assembling. Just seeing it all come together after the sorry sketches I'd made is really rewarding. So first we have the dirt. It's not really that exciting, but we do need a good solid base. And the dirt fits in the plant pot. Up next is this white cup shape. I wanted to give the idea of some kind of bone matter going on inside the plant that feels like leftover skull bits without having a total dog skull crocheted in the middle of the plant. And then I have surface single crocheted the red bits here, and the black and the pink are embroidered on just to keep it varying heights. They're not all exactly the same size for all these weird veiny things. So to me that looks like a good base. Once it's attached and the skin flaps or the petals are all coming up around it, so I'll just pin that in place for now. Next we have the tongue. Gotta have a tongue. It's not wired yet, but it will be when it's finished. And this fits right inside the skull bit, or the bone bowl. Ooh, I like that. So yeah, the tongue fits in perfectly inside the bone bowl. And the next part I've made are the petals, which are essentially dog on the outside, or dog fur colors on the outside. And the inside is, well, the insides. We want bloody, veiny grossness, but still have them being very red and very pretty. So I've made 4 outer skin flaps. These I've crocheted them in rows going back and forth, increasing and decreasing as needed. I've also sewn a piece of floral wire all around the edge of each piece, so that way each flap will be posable as well and not just flop around. I've also made 4 of the inside skin flaps as well. The shape is the same, but the inside flaps are slightly larger. I wanted some of the inside edges to show through when the plant is closed. I've embroidered some black and white veiny action on these as well. I haven't wired these because they will be sewn to the outer skin flaps, and then they'll be posable with that wire because the 2 pieces will be sewn together. And I have 2 of these already sewn together. This is the outside. This is the inside. And I'm hoping that once they're all sewn on like that they'll peel back and reveal all the grossness. So I have 2 left to sew together, but before I do, I'm going to add some details to the dog's face area. He'll get a nose, some gray for the markings of his fur, and some white eye spots. And then some cute little ears. First, I'll sew the nose to each of these pieces, and then we'll sew on the husky gray markings. Usually when I sew amigurumi pieces together, I'll use stick pins to hold things in place. However, these pieces are flat, and that can get a little trickier, so these little sewing clips are great for this. Oddly enough though, I went back to the stick pins for the eyes. They're a little smaller and the edge doesn't quite line up with the edge of the piece I'm working on, so the stick pins are back. After the white eye markings are sewn on, oh, okay, yeah, this happened. Happens a lot, actually. This thing that just fell on me, this is my DIY light diffuser. Don't laugh, it works pretty well considering it's cardboard and parchment paper. But we'll get that back to where it goes. And moving on. I've inserted a piece of craft wire into the tongue, and I'm going to insert that into the bone cup. But first I'm going to make holes for the wire using these wooden skewers. It just helps to get them through with as little muss and fuss as possible. I actually tried to stick with the body piercing technique. If the skewer were a needle and the wire were a piece of jewelry, you'd want to follow the needle through with the jewelry, easy peasy. So now to secure the tongue inside the bone cup, I'm actually going to flip the cup inside out for now, sew the tongue down, and then flip the bone cup back to the right way. Before I insert the wires through the dirt, I'll close the hole on the bottom of the dirt, then use the same skewer technique as before. Twofer. That never happens. Yay. Next, I'll bend the wires flat against the bottom of the dirt and twist them a bit like so, and then use the tail from the dirt to sew the wires down to hold them in place. We're looking good so far. Next up is to sew the bone cup to the dirt. I'm using red yarn. I wanted all the stitches from the assembly to add to the grossness, so it's blood red for most of it. Next is to insert the skin flap wires through the dirt. But before I do, the floral wire I used is much thinner than the craft wire that I used in the tongue. There's no way it's going to make it through the dirt without bending, even using the skewer. So to help, I'm going to twist the ends of the wire together, then cover them with floral tape, and this will make it a little sturdier and easier to get through the dirt. And just like that, we have our first skin flap wire inserted. I'll do the same with the other 3 and then insert them evenly spaced around the bone cup. And all done inserting the wires. So things are pretty much looking how I want them to. I'm just going to clean up some of the extra lengths of wire on the bottom and twist the skin flap wires and sew them down to secure them. Next, I'll sew each skin flap to the dirt using blood red, of course. Oh, who's this? Hello there. This is Sam. He just wanted to see what I was doing. And back to sewing down skin flaps. I also sewed each flap to the flap next to it, but I didn't get footage of that just to make them more secure. Next, I wrapped lengths of wire and red yarn and black yarn and a mix of black and red yarn. I painted all of these with Mod Podge and let it dry overnight. This is the effect. It's almost a slimy looking coating. The tentacles were a must for me. It's a big part of the scene. They're whipping all around and it's just extra terrifying. Next, I glued black felt on for the eyes and covered the wires on the bottom with felt as well. And we have a posable, peelable dog's heads plant, inspired by the movie The Thing, and ready to be won, maybe by you. Good luck in the contest, and thanks for watching.